This president makes news even on Easter with a single tweet declaring DACA is dead, and that's dominated the news for the next 48 hours. The deal with the Dreamers, he actually wrote DACA is dead because the Democrats didn't care or act, and now everyone wants to get on the DACA bandwagon. The president saying no longer works, must build wall, secure our borders with proper border legislation. But does that really mean that DACA is dead? Well, first of all, the president, it seems clear, was moved to fire off this first of a series of tweets because of a segment on Fox and Friends about this so-called caravan of several hundred or 1,000 Central American refugees making its way through Mexico, and many of its members hoping to get asylum in the U.S. Now, there is no connection between border wall crossings and DACA, because in order to be eligible for protection as a dreamer, you not only have to be brought to the United States illegally by your parents when you were, I believe, under 16, but you have to have lived here since 2007. So there's no connection. But politically speaking, it makes sense for the president to try to conflate the two issues, which brings us to the question of why is he actually pronouncing last rites? Because he's declared NAFTA dead. He did that also. I mean, he again talked about wanting to walk away from NAFTA in one of those weekend tweets. And it is often part of the negotiating strategy of this president, in addition to sort of venting his frustration, to say that something's dead or it's not going to happen, as a way of pressuring, in this case, the Democrats to come to the table. It did seem for a while like there was going to be a deal between Donald and Chuck and Nancy. In fact, the president, you may recall, doubled the number of Dreamers who would be eligible for not only being shielded from deportation, but a path to citizenship, to 1.8 million. But then he wanted $25 billion for the border wall. I'm starting to think that nothing will happen this year, particularly since the courts have intervened and the Dreamers are not in immediate danger of being kicked out of the country, because I think that both sides want the issue. The Democrats could compromise, the Republicans could compromise, but instead they'll go into the midterms complaining about each other's position. I also think that when the president goes off like this, you know, he goes back and forth depending on the mood of the moment. For example, after he ended the Obama unilateral order on keeping the Dreamers here, he said he had a great love for the Dreamers, he had a great affection for these people, he wanted Congress to do something, but Congress, of course, has not been able to do something at least that would allow for an agreement with the president on this. You know, in the end, it's really hard for me to see hundreds of thousands of young illegal immigrants being kicked out of the country. I don't think that's ultimately what Donald Trump wants. What he wants is money for the border wall, and this comes at a time when he's really under pressure from what I'm calling the Ann Coulter wing of the GOP. She's been out there criticizing her once favorite candidate and president for not doing more to build a wall. He's also under pressure and criticism from conservatives who think he shouldn't have taken that budget deal, signing this big $1.3 trillion spending bill. So he may be trying to shore up his standing on the right and on people for whom immigration is a really important issue. By the way, the president himself has bragged a couple of times that border crossings have been down during his administration. So I think we'll see more of this sniping, this tweeting between the two sides. I think ultimately, I'm going to guess there will be some kind of political accommodation, but I'm not so sure, given the polarized climate, that it's going to happen this year.